So I started the recording just in case you want to refer back to anything we're doing. A lot of the information that is important for completing the assignment is actually up on the blog. If you just click on Photography 10, everything that we've been doing so far is on here. Setting up our blogs, links to our blogs, simple tessellation assignment, and now alphabet photography. So again, I have most of this memorized, but you might have a question like how wide or how tall do we make our grid? Also, hey, how many rows and columns and things like that are there available? So the first thing we'll do is in Photoshop, essentially you're going to be left with something like this. This is essentially a placeholder for all of our pictures. We're going to have to do a few things to make it work. Obviously, when you take a picture and try to drag it and drop it, it will not fit in properly. You have to actually resize the images, and I'll actually show you a really quick, easy way of doing that, and also making this grid. So if you're in Photoshop, the first thing, obviously, you might not have anything. It might just look like this. You would go to File, New, and always name it. Alphabet photo, and the width and height is 8 inches by 21 inches with a resolution of 72 pixels per inch. I'm just going to take a picture of that to add to the blog in case you want to refer back to that later. RGB color. If we wanted to change to black and white, we would just go grayscale, but we don't need to do that just yet. If your image size isn't 2.49 megabytes, something is wrong. My guess is that this might be in pixels per inch or pixels per centimeter, or 8 might be in pixels or centimeters. So really important to making sure you're in the proper unit of measure. Then I'm going to hit OK. Then you might get something like this, but yours will probably not look like mine because you won't have your rulers generally. If you go to View, Rulers, or there's a shortcut, Command R, it will turn them on or off. So you definitely want them turned on because we're going to have to use them to make it work. But you might notice that your number might not say 8 on the end of it. What does it say? How wide? If you have your rulers on. To get your rulers on, you can hit View, Rulers, or Command R. So typically the default is set to centimeters. So yours will be something like this. It'll say like 20. But it's really important to right click on the ruler itself and change it to inches. So there's a couple things that might not work. If that's not working for you, it could be you haven't set up your right click yet on the computer. So I'll just review that step in case any of us are there. By going to the apple in the top left hand corner, clicking on mouse, making sure this says primary and secondary. That's good. If it doesn't, you can change that to secondary. Then if for some reason you do not see these rulers, you go up to View, Rulers, or you can just hit Command R to turn them on or off. Very important. So if we turn them on and you go to see the width and it says like 20, well, we know we set our width to 8 inches. So this is throwing us off. And it's because it's set to centimeters by default. Once you change it to inches once, you never need to change it again. So I'm just going to double check. Mine is 8 inches wide. And if I scroll down to the bottom, I can't see the 21, but I could tell if I zoom out a little bit, hit Command minus a couple times. Oh, my bar is in the way. It still is. There you go. I can tell that that is the 21 inch mark. So I can just double check that my grid is correct. For this to work, I've already kind of figured out the math. We are going to be making each of our little images, each of the letters we took pictures of, 2 inches wide by 3 inches tall. And that is just, it's a really easy unit to convert to because the standard picture you take, if you get them printed somewhere, it would be a 4 by 6. So we're just cutting that down in half. But if you think about printing this, this is actually a pretty big document. It'd be more like a poster. So the steps to do that would be to go up to your move tool, because we're going to be moving around these little grid lines. So it's going to look like this. It might be a little hard for you to see, but I have these bright blue lines on my computer. And how to get those? All I do is click, drag, and hold from a ruler. So I'm going to just click, drag, and hold from this ruler over here on the left. And you see this line pops up. And all I do is I make sure it's at the 2-inch, 4-inch, and 6-inch. In my notes, it says you have to make sure that the grid is perfect right here. The grid must be perfect. Zoom in if you have to. And the reason for that is if your numbers are off by a little bit, for example, like if this didn't line up at 2 and 4, when we go to drop our pictures in, it won't line up properly. So the more time you spend doing this correctly, the easier it will be in the end. Mark my words. Someone will make this completed really fast and it won't end up working out. Okay. The next step. So we have to pull a vertical column every 2 inches. So click, drag, and hold from the left. Line it up at 2, then I just release it. Or I can put one at 4. Sometimes I've seen people grab another one by accident. So this one doesn't need to be here. All I'm going to do is click on it and drag it back. So once you've done all 3 vertical, I'll do it on this one as well. I'm going to zoom in a little bit by hitting Command+. Drag it to the 2. I'm really going to spend my time making sure that's perfect. Okay, and now we have all of our vertical columns, but we have to add our horizontals. And we know that our image width and height is 2 inches by 3 inches. So now I drag and hold from the top every 3 inches. 3, 6, and again, you might want to zoom in. When I did my first one, I took quite a while to do it. 3, 6, 9. Some people I find might get a little confused on the math. For example, if I maybe thought 9 plus 3 was 13, it might put me there, and then the rest of my grid might not work. So every once in a while, you might want to just zoom out, and I could tell really quickly that this line is in the wrong place. It should be up a little higher. So I'm just going to hit Command+ and just click on the line, drag it back. Okay, and then 15 and 18, and we don't need to put it at 21 because obviously that's the boundary. There we go. Now I have all these nice lines. It should work out perfectly. If something doesn't look right, if it doesn't look like mine, that's a surefire indicator that something is wrong. And just ask for help. I'm more than happy to help. The other thing you'll want to do is put placeholders. Sometimes it's hard to figure out where your letters go if you do not have like a placeholder like this. So all I did is I just made a new layer. I actually took the time to put in the text letters and I merged all the layers. That's overkill. You don't need to do that. What I would suggest you do is on a new layer, we're actually going to use the pencil tool or the pen tool and we're going to write them. It's going to look like a little kid wrote them. It's going to look really bad, but that's not the point. The point is to have something there so I know if I'm putting my M in my graph, I don't need to say the alphabet song every time. All I do is look for the M and I drop it in place. Hi, Alex. Yep. So all I need to do is find my M and put it in place. So what I'm going to do is a new layer. There's a new layer button right here. A new layer button right at the bottom, right next to the garbage can. Again, if you're not sure what some of these buttons do, all you do is hover over anything you're looking at, and it will tell you. I'm just leaving my mouse there, and it's saying create a new layer. Okay, so create new layer. Awesome. I'm now writing.
Just turned into me 10 minutes ago.
Okay. Okay, it's not important what this looks like. The important part is that your letters are in the right spot. Okay? So when you're done, you should be left with something like this. And all we're going to do from this point is hit File, Save, or Save As, doesn't matter. File, Save As. It will let you double check where you saved something. So I have a name, Alphabet Photography. I know where I saved it. And never touch any of these things. Really important. So we would just save it. I'm going to replace it because I have one. Perfect. And from there, all we're going to be doing is uploading our images and changing that picture. Okay? So for today, I'm going to give you some time to work on this. I'm going to help you guys as well as there will be some time for your last minute pictures. I'm going to come around and ask to see your pictures of your letters and how many you are missing. And that'll kind of give me a sense of how well you worked outside the classroom. Okay, any questions so far? I can go over it again if you'd like. Okay, so I'm going to go over it again. I'll just stop the recording here.